Welcome to the meeting for Tuesday, January 12th of the Zoning Design Review Board. I will call the meeting to order. Sandra, do you want to do roll call? Or Nathan?
I can. All right, so Member Dorman?
Here.
Member Laz?
Here.
Member Allen?
Yes, here.
Chair Cook?
Here.
And let the record show that Member Tigert is excused.
Okay. Thank you. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does anybody have any changes to the agenda that they would like to make? Okay, would somebody make a motion to adopt the agenda? Okay, and second? Get your microphone. We've adopted the agenda. Approval of the minutes. The minutes for October 13th. Did anybody have any changes?
Move we adopt the October 13th minutes.
Okay, a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll adopt the minutes from October 13th. December 8th, the minutes. We had some questions about that.
I would like to present a suggested revision under item number 9, revisions and updates to Yountville Municipal Code, Chapter 17.92 signs. The action, I'd like to suggest revising it to read, the board agreed to pass the ordinance to the town council with the revisions provided by staff and the board. As questions still remained, members further agreed to contact council members directly with any questions or concerns.
Is that okay with you guys?
It's fine with us if it's fine with you.
Okay. It's fine with me. Somebody make a motion to approve the minutes with that revision.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of December 8th with the revision presented this evening.
Excellent. Thank you, Carrie. And a second?
Second it.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are approved. Is there any public here tonight that wanted to comment on something that is not on the agenda? Okay. I'll take that as a no. Consent calendar. There's nothing. So we will move to the public hearing for item 15-600, the sign permit for 6512 Washington Street.
Right, thank you. So before you this evening is an application for a sign permit on the Hill Family Estates tasting room that's located at 6512 Washington Street here in Yountville. Out of reference, that's on the corner of Washington Street and Mulberry. So on December 30th, so a few weeks ago, town staff conducted an annual use permit monitoring appointment with the Hill Family Estates. Now, what staff does as part of its ongoing use permit compliance program, staff has these regular check-ins with all the businesses throughout town. So as part of this just routine appointment, it was noted that the Hill Family Estates required a sign permit in order to install a 7.77 square foot sign composed primarily of succulent flowers, as shown here on the screen. Now, the business has 45 feet of primary frontage along Washington Street, and the frontage, all things calculated, permitted them to have 30 square feet of total signage on the building. Now, Chapter 17 of the Yountville Municipal Code states that all signs should be related to the architectural design of the building, that the location, color, and material of the sign shall complement rather than clash or conflict with the building to which it is attached or associated. And furthermore, it is noted that colors in the earth tone range and natural materials are preferred for signs. Seeing as it is composed of wood and succulent flowers, staff felt that this satisfied the expectation that there be natural materials involved and earth tone colors. Now, in addition to this, staff also interpreted the sign ordinance looking at the section for master sign plan properties where it limits each business to one sign per frontage. As shown here, even though this is not a master sign plan property, what is up for the board for discussion is to determine whether 3 signs is appropriate for this frontage. Here, right at the front door is how it stood before the sign was installed. We have Hill Family Estate Wines, home decor, drawn on the wall above the awning, and then a commercial identification sign to the right of the door, and then this proposed on the left of the door. Overall, giving 3 signs for one business frontage, even though it is within that 30 square feet of allotted signage. So it's staff's recommendation that the ZDRB discuss this to see whether those 3 signs are appropriate or not.
Okay. Anybody have any questions of staff?
Do we have anyone here from the applicant?
Does not look like it.
So the 45 feet of frontage, is that only along Washington? Or is that Washington plus the
That's the
angle?
Washington side. So it would be this diagonal plus this one right here in Washington. It does not consider the Mulberry frontage.
Okay, so the total, including the portion of the front door, and that's exactly parallel to Washington, is 45.
Yeah, it's about, you can look at it, the tip corner of this awning, all the way till the end of the building here is how it was calculated.
Okay, so I'm looking at the sign ordinance. Total permitted sign area for any building shall not exceed 1/2 square foot per 1 foot of lineal building frontage, or 30 square feet, whichever is less. So wouldn't that limit them to 22.5 if they have 45 feet?
So
Am I
it would
reading
be
that?
22.5, but because it is a corner lot, they get to add another 50% to the allotted signage.
Okay,
Or 30%, or 30 square feet, whichever is less, which is why it
Okay.
went up to 30 square feet. It's because that whichever is less. Because they're a corner lot, if it didn't have that whichever is less, their actual allotted signage would be closer to 40 square feet.
so that's under
Because that
C,
Mulberry frontage is
a building with more than one building frontage. Increased by 50%.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
But if you're going to count, if you count the footage all the way to the end of the building next to Bistro Gentil, then there are 4 signs. Because there's another sign all the way down there that says Hill Family
Correct.
Estate.
Yeah.
So the succulent sign that we're talking about tonight would make 4 signs.
It would be the 4th on the entire building.
And all those are counted, but still fall under the 30.
Yes.
Okay. Karen, you have any questions? Barbara?
I guess, anybody ask the applicants why we need so many signs on that corner?
The reason, not them being representative, hopefully I'm doing my best. On the discussions for their reasoning here, originally they had this fountain here, but due to the drought, they wanted to eliminate the water feature in order to show that they're conserving water.
Right.
Even though it was a circulating fountain, the winds there kind of pushed the water out quite a bit, and they had to refill that tank multiple times during the day. So in order to be more water conscious, they removed the fountain and installed succulent. Because it clearly says Hill, it's considered a sign, which is why now they're getting a sign permit for the succulent flower display.
Okay. Okay.
And I'd just like to add that they viewed it more as an artistic statement on the building rather than a sign. It's how we view any designation of a business name such as this, that it does qualify as a sign.
It's really beautiful. If we approve 4 signs for the front of their building, are we setting a precedent, that a path that we don't want to go down? That's my concern. I mean, it's a beautiful sign,
I
but
agree.
are we opening up
It
to-
does establish a certain treatment for buildings within town.
Yeah.
That are not
Right.
part of master sign plans.
Yeah. And right now, buildings that are not part of master sign plan, are they restricted to the number of signs they can have?
It's not specific in the code, no. The code is only specific as to master sign plans. The way staff has interpreted the ordinance is that it's fair and reasonable to apply the same standard to individual businesses, or they simply get more signs.
The signs that are on there now are up because of a previously approved permit.
So if they had succulents not in the shape of hill, we wouldn't even be talking about this. They would just put it up. Okay.
It would be wall
Are
decoration.
they really like committed to having it be hill, or could they just?
It's already put up, which I think is
Oh,
why
so
it
they're pretty
was.
committed then. That's committed.
Yeah, yeah.
So could we, in our findings, could we be very specific that because this is an atypical sign and it has a very strong design element, we don't, we're willing to make a one-off on this?
That's
And that
worked before, yeah.
because it is a sign and it isn't a sign. I mean, it's a sign because it has commercial value, because it's not just a beautiful arrangement. But it is a beautiful arrangement and an enhancement to the building.
But
It
are
is.
you open for discussion for later? People saying this is a piece of art with my name on it. Are we going to be ruling every one of them?
True, that's why I raised the issue, is how do we, is there a way to frame it?
Right.
Well, but we haven't even set any limits. You could say you could put this sign up, but you have to take down one of your other ones, so that you could only have three. But a limit has not been set of 2 or 3 or 1 or.
Right.
Right.
So how do you even make that argument?
Well, 3 are approved on the building,
Oh,
and you
okay.
could view it that
Okay.
you want to maintain it within that number that is approved.
And let them decide.
Yeah. I think that would be better because we don't want to set precedents here. Particularly, we're trying to limit how many signs.
Yeah,
building.
keep that under control.
We don't want to increase the numbers.
The large white one to the right of the door says Hill Family. And then there's another one down the far side by Gentil that also says Hill Family, or Hill Family Estates.
This is also a public hearing, so
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
you don't have to now, but just
No,
before you
you're
make
right,
any
you're right.
motion.
The applicant is not here, so is there anybody from the public here tonight that wanted to comment on this sign? Okay.
I didn't think
I
so,
guess not.
but it's
But
still
good.
worth saying.
Thank you, Nathan. I forgot that. So we will close the public comment since there wasn't any. What do you think?
I think since the ordinance is silent except to square footage, but overall the ordinance speaks to not having visual clutter. And it is a pretty busy corner in the sense of graphics going on. We might want to look at saying 3 signs, because you basically have 3 street frontages, 1 per frontage. Decide how you wish.
I'm more inclined to go that way.
Me too.
Okay. Somebody make a motion out of that? Carrie?
Does staff, do you have any further comment? I see conferring.
It was just
No
a quick
comment.
question. so.
Okay. Well, I guess I have a question. Can we would just approve or not approve the sign, correct? It's not really before us to say you can have 2 or 3. We can just say approve or not approve.
You can always attach conditions of approval.
Okay, so it could be something like, we approve the sign if it is one of 3.
Correct, because you're looking at all the signage on the building. When you're looking at the findings for sign approval, and you've mentioned some of them as they relate to clutter, that's something that is fairly before you for consideration.
So I would move that we approve the sign so long as it otherwise meets our code and it is one of no more than 3 on the frontage of the building, combined frontage of the building.
Okay. Somebody want to second that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion has passed with the adjustment. Okay, now we will move on to item 15-607, 2009 Weber Avenue Design Review.
Good evening. Tonight you have before you design review for a single-family residence in the Old Town Historic District. And the subject parcel is a 6,880 square foot flag lot that is already developed with an 1,829 square foot single-family residence with an attached 260 square foot garage. And the house, the existing house features horizontal wood siding and divided light windows and a black garage door, and the floor area ratio is approximately 30%. So the applicant is proposing a major remodel of the project site, which includes demolishing all but one wall in order to increase the amount of usable exterior space by increasing the rear setback. And by doing this, they'll also expand the width of the house at the backyard by relocating the attached garage from the southwest corner to the northeast corner. And in its place is an 1,824 square foot residence with a detached 264 square foot garage. So FAR would remain at the 30% that we see presently. So I mentioned that the purpose is to increase the rear yard, and it would go from the existing setback of 19 feet to 24.5 feet. An existing, the front setback would also increase from 18 feet to 24 feet, but the side setbacks would generally remain as is, 5 feet on one side and 9 foot on the other. The height of the residence is approximately 18.5 feet, and the design would feature horizontal wood siding that's painted white, black frame windows and doors, a stone chimney, and a standing seam metal roof in an earthen tone. So it's really meant to be reconstructed very similar to what you see there, with the exception of a larger backyard. And I've noted in the staff report that it generally complies with design ordinance criteria for height, exterior finish materials, windows, and porches, but the property is legal nonconforming as to FAR because it exceeds the 25% permitted in the Old Town Historic District. And they are permitted to maintain that nonconformity as long as it's not increased, and they're not increasing that here. So one of the items I want to talk about are the setbacks. And the setback as it relates to the garage. And that's because the setbacks for this flag lot were established at the time of the original approval. And at that time, the front setback was measured from the north property line. So it's essentially the backyard of the house that's closer to the street in front of them. And the other yards, obviously, were placed in proximity to that. And the zoning ordinance doesn't state which property line is a setback on a flag lot, and an applicant is really free to choose. What that does is put this proposed garage in the front setback, so it's 5 feet from front property line, whereas 20 feet is normally required. That 20 foot is required for garages that face the street, so that the garage does not hold the same level of prominence, and it doesn't hold really have the same bearing on this flag lot. Furthermore, I've included some of the H District design standards that support tucking garages on the rear half of a parcel out of view and making its dominance less important. And I think the redesign is successful in this. It moves it from the end of the driveway to a tuck back location. And then we think of what are the setbacks on adjoining properties, and it does face rear yards on those other parcels, and so it is an appropriate location essentially for a garage. So I've stated that staff is in support of this interpretation for a flag lot. The only other requirement that I'm going to mention in the staff report is the requirement for 2 parking spaces, one covered and one screened. We have the one covered in the garage. We also require one screened, and in the site layout, it makes it difficult to place one that's independently accessible unless it's outside of the rear backup for the driveway. And I'd indicated that I'm proposing a condition of approval to that effect. I neglected to include it in the condition, so I would ask that you require that, let me see, I want to show you here. So we'll have essentially the 20-foot rear yard setback, and that pavers or other treatment be done to tuck it back here so that it can, they can gain ingress and egress to Weber, but that the parking space in the garage also has the ability to do so. So we are otherwise in support of the project, and we are recommending approval. And the applicant and their architect are here tonight to give a presentation themselves.
Okay. Does anyone have questions of staff? Barbara?
No.
Okay. Okay, then we'd like to open it up and hear from the applicant.
My name is Clifford Simpkins. I'm an architect in Napa, and I'm working for the Hesses on this project. We think it's a fairly good solution because the end result now will be when you look down that lane, you'll see some landscaping in the corner of the porch and whatnot instead of just concrete and the garage door. So, and we've tried to honor all the other setbacks, not asking for any variances or any extra credit. We're actually going from a 3-bedroom to a 2-bedroom house. But again, the same square footage, same mass. So I'll answer any questions you might have.
Okay, anybody have any questions? I have one.
Okay.
A couple questions is, how will you be demolishing the house? I think a lot of the neighbors might want to know that. Or piece by piece, or just
Yeah, I
coming
mean,
in with a
wouldn't be
bulldozer? Or?
no, wouldn't be a
Okay.
wrecking ball or anything like that. It would be coming down.
And then how long do you think the construction will take?
Probably from start to finish, probably 6 months.
6 months, okay. Because it's most neighbors have, you have one neighbor on one side and maybe one behind you, but this one has about
A lot,
9
yeah.
neighbors, just by its being a flag lot. Okay,
Okay.
do you have a question?
I do. So you're not increasing, you are increasing the front and back setbacks, correct?
Correct.
And the side-to-side setbacks are staying the same,
Correct.
yet
Well-
the house remains the same size.
Right.
I'm just trying to work through the math.
It's all of that's true. The dining room, where you see the dining room, that is the closest to the side property line. Now, where the fireplace is, that wall has pushed out from where it is now, but not. It's out about 3 or 4 feet. But the original house was clear up into the space between the guest room and the garage. So we took that space away, pushed that back, and took that space over there.
In order to get more backyard?
Backyard,
Space.
I would note they're increasing the front setback by 6 feet. So you're losing that segment of building, and they're taking it where the garage was located.
Okay, that's
It's not
that's where it
growing on
comes
all
in.
sides, yeah.
Got it.
Do you have any objections to the additional condition of approval that Sandra just mentioned about making a
Well, if
parking
I
space
didn't,
for the second car?
I guess I would want to minimize that as much as possible because, I mean, that would be a place to park a second car, but it wouldn't take too much. I guess I would prefer not having like 40 feet of paving down there to accomplish that because it's primarily would be one of the Hess's cars. So if it's their car, they would probably park in tandem to the garage and then back out. And if we could do something in the heart, make it somewhat of something that could be driven on but not pavement for that much area. I mean, we're just trying to soften that.
Yeah, I mean, a permeable
Yeah.
paver with
Yes, something
greenery
like that,
in
that you
between
could
or
pull into there.
Yeah.
But, because it's, I mean, it's at the end of a 100-some-foot drive already, so.
But don't you kind of need somewhere, if you were going to back out of that garage, don't you
Yeah,
kind of
you
need
need to
somewhere
have
to
a
turn
place,
around?
to- yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm just saying, I'm not sure you would need to be clear down to, I don't know that you'd need 40 feet. I mean, I know you wouldn't need 40 feet. But if we could just maybe work with that to just kind of try to soften that.
the length of a car.
Yeah.
What is that, 20-something feet? Okay.
And our idea too is not that it be paved as a driveway, that there be treatments where it can double as landscaping with pavers with something grown in between them. So
Something like that.
Yeah,
essentially to
just-
serve as
it's-
overflow
It's so
parking.
stark now when you look down there,
Yes,
the
it
concrete
is.
and everything, so.
It is. Okay, so that's workable. Okay.
I have a question. In the application, it says one wall will remain. Which wall would that be?
Well, it's the bottom wall. It's just because it's the wall that is 5 feet off the property line. And and we couldn't go any closer than that, and we didn't want to go further away from there because we're trying to pick up the rear and front yard. So in reality, that wall probably, it's that wall, but it's shorter, so it may in fact come down. But that foundation wall is the one point that isn't changing.
So why are you keeping the wall if it may come down?
Well, what I mean is, it's just, that's where a wall is, there will be a wall there.
Right.
But when it comes to doing the actual construction, it may not make any sense to keep that wall because the windows are in different places and the wall is now shorter than it was. So we're cutting off each end of the wall. So it's just easier to say that wall is there as a sort of a visual thing that you can think that everything changes from there.
I see.
So it doesn't make any difference on what codes apply or anything like that, building codes and stuff, if you leave a wall up versus tearing it all down?
Well, it's in terms of whether it's a remodel or a new construction. And I suppose we do look at it in terms of a legal non-conforming structure, that they're not tearing it down to nothing. So I see it as being significant that some portion remains to consider it a remodel.
Well, and the floor framing, the floor and everything would remain. It would get added onto in places and cut off in other places, but we have no intention of taking the foundation and the floor out.
Okay, so the foundation is going to stay.
Right.
Basically.
That makes it
But
seem more like
You're
a
just
remodel,
adding
yeah.
to
Right.
the parameter.
Okay.
See. Okay.
Karen?
Now, one other, I guess, thing I would like to ask is, in the process, would it be would it be possible for us to go to a corrugated metal roof instead of a standing seam roof? I mean, they are in the area.
It's a very different look. What would you think of that?
Well, I think we haven't analyzed it, obviously,
Yeah.
in the staff report. I think that standing seam is maybe more consistent with Old Town, but the architect is correct that we do see examples of the corrugated roofing. And there's one recent approval in town where it was used more as an accent rather than the main roofing material.
Are there any where it's used as the main roofing material? I think of it as accents.
Yes, on Lavender Inn
Lavender Inn right
uses
across the
it
street.
right across the street.
Across the street.
And I believe there are other garages in town that use it as well.
Okay. It just it doesn't have the visual quality as a standing seam.
Well, I'm not sure we would, I guess I would like to know if we could have that latitude. That's all.
Well, if you feel comfortable approving that tonight, you could require that they come back before you to present more certain details of what that would look like, so you don't have to make such a conceptual decision tonight.
I think that would kind of make sense, to have it come back and see what it looks like with gutters, and because we know what the standing seam on a home looks like.
Okay.
I would say I would think we would want that to come back before us. Okay, does somebody want to make a motion? Oh, we need to hear from public, yes. Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much. We will open the public comment. Is anybody here to, come on up and introduce yourself and let us know. if
Hi,
you're a
my name is
neighbor
Barbara
or-
Powell, and I live at 6584 Jefferson Street. So the length of my house, the back of the house, adjoins their property. We share a fence, which is about 70 feet long. I have no objections to the house. That doesn't matter to me one way or the other. The demolition process is really a concern. It's my primary home. It's my only home. And I just went through a renovation last year, and dirt everywhere. So nothing I can do about that, but I just want people to be aware that it's really inconvenience to people that live around there. I think, and also, also the constant construction, I'm sure that they will keep to the construction restraints as far as time in the morning and weekends and so on. Like I said, it's my only home. I guess my really big concern is that the fence that separates our property, and from my sliding glass door in the living room to the fence, it's only 9 feet. From my bedroom window and dining room window, it's 4 feet to the fence. So I am right there against it. And also the fence, in 2012, the former neighbor and I shared shoring up that fence, the cost of doing that. And it also has a lot of vegetation on it, which is essential for privacy and noise. And I would hate to see anything happen to the vegetation on that fence or the fence itself in having heavy equipment coming in there, just because there's no other bit of privacy for me except for that. And those are my concerns. I mean, it's not that I don't care about the house, but it's just that it's getting there, the process, and then, like I said, it's bad enough now, being only 4 feet away. I don't know what's going to be on my side of this street. I don't know, but anyway, that's all my concern.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Now, we are not allowed to make comments during the public comment part, right? We just listen to the comments, or?
Your meeting.
Yeah, I don't think, you're not restricted from it.
Okay. Does the town have any guidelines for demolition? Like spraying of water to keep the dust down, or other than the hours of construction? Are there any demolition guidelines?
Typically for commercial projects, yes. We don't always apply the same standards to residential, but that's one of them, controlling dust with watering. Water, of course, is an issue
I
with
know.
the drought.
I know.
And with residential projects, it's really an issue of owners getting along with their neighbors and letting them know what's happening and trying to be good neighbors. And that can be hard to condition. So it's nice that the owners can be here tonight and at least hear that comment.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Is there anybody else? Come on up.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Kay LaFranconi. I live at 6565 Yount Street, and my house is the east side, or so it backs up onto the 5-foot setback, and my bedroom is right there. So we, just like Barbara, we just have a concern about privacy, and so I was hoping that that some landscaping might be incorporated to mitigate to help provide some privacy. There's a series of windows back there, and our backyard is very narrow also, so there's a 5-foot setback to the fence, and then our back bedroom windows are maybe 15 feet. It's still relatively close, so I was hoping that some landscaping might be incorporated to help provide privacy and maybe actually also soften the look of it, because right now we still see the house. I mean, it's just the house and the roof. So I'm very concerned about the roof also, because I'm going to be looking at it a lot. And then with the garage there also, it takes away our only little bit of daylight or view to the, it will be pretty much solid. So last night I saw a lot of lovely murals, and I'm hoping that it'd be nice to have a nice mural back there, but maybe just some landscaping to soften the look and provide some privacy. I'd really appreciate that.
Okay.
And those are my only concerns. And also, just consideration of the yard. I have dogs, and when the construction goes on, I'd like to make sure that the fence is intact, and I don't worry about the dogs getting out. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Was there any other public that wanted to make any comments on this one? Okay. You're the applicant?
Yep.
Okay, come on up.
What's going on?
Want to introduce yourself?
Artes.
Great.
We're not completely done with our plan, so windows might change and stuff like that. I thought the reason we were here to get a basic approval of the just the space we're using. And by no means are the windows in the back, are they totally set. We've been working, we don't have any construction drawings. It's just a concept at this point. We will stay within the footprint of the house and the garage, but things might change. And if so, are we going to come back and have another hearing, or how does that work?
Sandra?
Well, this is really intended as design review for their full idea, their full concept, as they intend to construct it. But we always include the first condition of approval that slight changes can be approved at the staff level. The idea is that it's substantially as represented in the original proposal. So I would think if they make small adjustments to the windows, that would be fine. Anything larger or more significant that changes what we all viewed tonight and what the neighbors had a chance to view at this public hearing could require it to come back. But that's also how that condition is written, that substantial changes may need to come back before you. But it does give us some flexibility to review them
Yeah,
at staff
we
level.
were just sort of wondering if we were on the right path as far as where we're setting the garage and where we're setting the house. And by no means have we, is this a finished set of prints? It's going to change, and
Just the inside.
yeah, we don't.
If anything, the windows might move a little.
Yeah, the windows might move a little, and some of the finishes, as we get farther into the plants, maybe a few finishes, that's why the question of the corrugated roof came up.
Yeah, and so we take it as a finished proposal when it comes to us, so when it says standing
So
seam,
it sounds
that's
like we
we're
might have to
approving
do
standing
this
seam.
again, is what.
If you are going to make substantial changes, I think so.
I don't think they'll be substantial, they'll be probably.
Well, are you expecting any of the roof lines of the house or
No,
the
I don't,
garage or
nothing
anything
like
to
that.
change? Or, okay.
No, nothing will be moved. I mean, we're stuck with, we like the footprint, but we might be changing windows and other minor details.
But not height or anything, things that would make a difference to the neighbors.
And the other thing I'd like to say is we're local. We live up at the crossings, and I'd be happy to give the neighbors my phone number and promise them if they have any problems during construction, I'll run down and take care of it immediately.
Oh, that would be nice.
Okay.
And then landscaping, has that been?
We haven't even got that far, but
Okay.
as far as the second lady that spoke, our intent is to have privacy in both directions. So it's definitely
same concern.
it's on the agenda. We don't have we have a landscaper lined up. We don't have a landscaping plan at this point.
Okay,
So
but it sounds like you guys can all work
I don't
together.
understand the screening. Can you explain
Okay.
that to me?
I'm not sure what you're asking. The
screening on for the second car. I don't really understand that.
Well, we struggle with that one too, because if it's accessible to the street, you can see it. I guess that's one of the reasons we're suggesting pavers and landscaping so that it's not as stark a parking place.
In reality, we would use the space in front of the garage as our second spot, and we would want a turnout, that would, go down and maybe as far as that porch so we can point our car in the right direction and get
Right.
out. I don't think we have any intention of parking on the high side of that house, or the driveway side of the house.
Okay.
Well, the town's parking standards require that spaces be independently accessible. If you're to tandem parking, it needs an approved use permit to do so. And the idea is that we want people to have both spaces usable, and that encourages use of them. It keeps cars off the street, and those are just the basic
Especially
town's
in that
parking
neighborhood,
standards.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
if they happen to want to use the tandem parking more than the other space, that would be fine. Our goal is ensuring that there's enough independently accessible parking spaces on site to be compliant with the town ordinance for parking.
So we would recommend, based on your condition of approval, that they do some paving on the side to provide the second space. And then if they decide they don't want to do that, they need to come in for a separate permitted approval to park tandem for their,
Correct.
okay. Does that make sense?
We can go in more detail with it later also. if
Okay.
you'd like to.
Thank
I
you.
have a question for the
Sure.
applicant. Because the location of this house, you have quite a few neighbors around. I hear their concerns about the noise and all that. I would recommend that you talk to them before you finalize what you're going to do. I think to inform them, you will solve a lot of problem privately without having big concerns at the meetings. You need to talk to them to address the fence and also how to make sure that the fence does not get broken, the dogs get out, things like that. There are minor things, but it's a small town. That might help you a lot.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I will,
Just a recommendation.
yeah, we have no intention of moving or, and most of the work isn't close to any of the fencing.
Okay.
And the other lady's fence with the vegetation on it, we plan to just leave it the way it is and
That'd be great.
take care of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
I just wanted to add for the neighbor to the east, if you'll notice, the bedroom and the bathroom windows are all 2-foot square and they're up high. And the other windows, they've talked about using some sort of a plantation shutter on it. I mean, they want privacy
Sure.
also. I mean, that's a concern of theirs, and to soften the fence. So I don't think that's, there's fewer smaller windows. I mean, there's less glass to the east now than there was in the houses.
Excuse me? Excuse me? Can I get you guys to finish that conversation outside? That's okay. No, it's good. I like that you guys are talking, and I don't want to discourage it.
So anyway, there's less glass actually now than there, I mean, in the finished product than there will be. And that was the concern of our clients too, was
Okay.
to create privacy there.
Great. Good. Thank you. Anybody else from the public have comments? Okay, then we'll close the public comment section and discuss it amongst ourselves on the microphones and in the television. Do you have any comments or concerns?
I do. On the relocation of the garage, the setback went from 18 to 24, but now suddenly it has a 12-foot garage sitting almost in the middle of it. So and I realize it's a flag lot, so you don't see it from the street, but when you walk in, a building is now very close where it never used to be. So I think if we approve it, it should be with some sort of a specific finding that this is a flag lot and this is why we did it. And again, it's kind of a very specific circumstance. Because I do see from a neighbor's standpoint, it's technically in the setback, and I understand it could be considered an accessory building, but in reality, it's a garage. And we're hearing as a practical matter that a car will be parked outside in that space now, right on the neighbor's backyard border. So I just would raise that if it's going to be approved, I would be in favor of a condition specifying why, a finding specifying why.
But do you have to note that that neighbor did not show up tonight with any concerns?
I just think as a precedent-setting matter that because it's a cool lot but it is different from what we typically do.
Yeah, so make it tied to the flag lot status. Okay, that makes sense. Karen? Anything? Barbara?
I'm good.
Okay. So, we need a condition. A motion, a motion.
Asking for
Yeah.
this portion here, for that to be,
We're approving it as presented with the standing metal seam roof and with the condition of approval that staff suggested with the pavers provided for the second car on the west side of the house. And then if you guys want to make changes to those things, then you can come back for approval on that. With your,
A finding that it's specific to the fact that it is a flag lot.
does
And
that make sense?
Yes.
that's
Okay.
the reason for our approval.
Anybody second that?
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The motion has passed, given the conditions here. And then, as you move along, if you have questions or changes, you can bring them to Sandra then. But I think you guys did a good job with a difficult lot. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to item number 15-599, 2000 Oak Circle Design Review.
Right. So the subject parcel here is 2000 Oak Circle. It's about 12,926 square foot. Not about, it is 19,000 or 12,926 square foot lot. It currently has a 2-story, 3,000 square foot single family house on it. The house has 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. Backyard at the north end of the property has a pool, a lawn, and a deck. Now, what the applicant proposes to do, as shown here on the drawings, is to do a minor addition to the dining room area on the first floor of 37 square feet, and which would then extend into the backyard, as shown here, just bringing that wall out. And then also on the second floor to add 170 square feet to a bedroom. The exterior walls will match the existing trim and all of the exterior materials that are already on the home. So it's really an exterior thing where you'll notice the differences. Shown here is the east elevation, the existing next to the proposed east elevation. There on the back you'll notice a covered porch. The applicant plans to remove the deck in the backyard and replace it with a covered patio or loggia. The applicant also proposes removing the deck on the front elevation and replacing the sliding doors with new windows with insulated glazing or double pane, as shown here. So existing south elevation, the proposed is windows there rather than a deck and sliding doors. The property is shown to be compliant with everything regarding setbacks and total FAR. And further, the 207 square feet proposed doesn't trigger the additional landscaping requirements set by the state water efficient landscape ordinance. It's not a significant enough project to make them submit a landscape plan that changes the entire landscape of the property. A condition of approval has been added, though, that requires some kind of landscape plan to show what's going to be put right here where the deck is being removed next to the windows, and with an encouragement that it be a drought-tolerant landscape of some sort rather than just extending the grass to that point. The findings there, staff finds that it is consistent with the design and building ordinances, and we are here to answer any questions. We also have the applicant here as well.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions of staff? No? No? Barbara?
So we're adding square footage within the allowed FAR.
Yes.
And there were no specific design elements or anything that we needed to...
Everything looked consistent with what was already there.
That's what I was seeing, but I just wanted to make sure. Okay. If nobody has any questions, did the applicant want to come up and say anything?
I'll defer to your questions if you have any.
Okay. Does anybody have questions of the applicant? Okay. It seemed pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Seems like
I thought.
some good things, and it's all towards the back. And
Is anything in the back already covered? Is like the deck already covered,
it's a
or?
raised redwood deck now. It's going to be removed, and the new patio will be at grade level.
So on
Just
the
state
east,
your name real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry, James Jeffrey. I'm an architect in Napa representing the De Silvas.
so on the east elevation, could you pull that up again, please? Where the new covered patio will be, what is there now?
It's a partially covered patio. It's about.
So there is a cover in the back.
There is, yeah. It's not very large, but there is a patio
Okay.
cover there.
And is it walled in?
Just this side, and then it's open on the north side. So you can see from probably the north elevation, which I've asked if you have that. You can see how it's on the right side of the raised deck. There's a partial covered area there.
Okay, so you're proposing to
It's a
take
little-
out the entire
it's a
deck
little
and the
awkward. It's-
cover?
Yeah, we're proposing to remove the entire raised redwood deck, remove that cover on the right-hand side, and have a new covered patio that goes all the way, the extent to the kitchen and family room in the back.
And all this, there's no stone on the home now? The stone accents you're going to be adding or will be the first and only stone accents?
It's just on the base of the columns in the back that you can see on the patio.
And that'll be the first addition of
Yeah.
stone? And then you also want to do 2 sets of stone steps or 1?
There's, I want to do a concrete stone landing and steps down to grade.
And you're adding a balcony off the bedroom addition?
Correct.
And it's just a Juliet balcony?
It's about 4 feet.
So it's usable space?
It's
A tiny
not
table and
enough room for a
chairs?
patio chair, but yeah, I suppose you could put a chair out there.
Okay, I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
I have a question about there is a pool in the backyard.
Correct.
So that pool's going to stay where it
Correct.
is? Okay.
okay. I think that's it for the questions. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
I will open public comment, if anybody is here to comment on that. But I guess not, so I will close it. And we can discuss it amongst ourselves. Anybody have any comments or concerns?
So, and this is a question for staff. The patio, although covered, is not included in FAR, correct? Because it's not conditioned space? Is that how it works? And if it were to become conditioned space at some point in the future, it would come back to the ZDRB for review?
Okay. Any other comments? Would somebody like to make a motion to accept it? Why don't you try it?
I make a motion that we accept number 15599 with no conditions for approval, as is.
Or
With the conditions of approval
With the-
that
with
were
the-
provided by
The
staff.
existing conditions of approval.
Yeah, there you go. And a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, the motion is passed for the approval. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 15-608, the master plan development for a new building on Washington Street.
Good evening. Tonight you have before you master development plan, including design review for the last vacant parcel in town that doesn't have planning approval yet. So this is pretty exciting.
I hear trumpets.
Especially since it's been vacant for so long, and this is right in the heart of town, and so we're presenting this new proposal to you tonight. It is for the construction of an approximately 4,450 square foot ground floor segment of the building and an approximately 1,600 square foot second story for this vacant parcel that's located in the residential scaled commercial zoning district. And that district backs up to residential uses to the east, and it's intended to have buildings that are residential in scale. And the applicant's architect has achieved that through using different 1 and 2 story segments of the building with different roof heights, and by separating the building with an open 9-foot wide breezeway that takes you into an interior courtyard. And as you exit out the rear toward the parking lot, it becomes a covered breezeway because the apartment is above the commercial uses. The building will feature natural stained cedar vertical siding. And let me just take you through some of these elevations. This shows the different footprints. The bottom lower right shows the 1-story segment, so we see essentially 2 buildings, and the upper shows, the illustration in the upper right-hand corner shows the second story and the way it connects the 2 buildings. I want to take you to this photo, which shows the natural stained cedar vertical siding that the applicant hopes is proposing to use, and he indicates that this is reminiscent of the Napa Valley and the vineyard and the agricultural scene here. The front of this building will be really unique in that it will feature 3 sets of tall, wide glass doors that will completely open up to allow views into the space. The center segment will also include doors on the back so you can see into the courtyard, and these doors will be dark metal that will complement the cedar siding, and roofing will be a standing seamed metal roof also in the dark medium tone bronze. There will be limited use of stone on the building, on a small portion inset on the front elevation, as well as on the chimney that is in the central courtyard. The height of the building will have the 1 and 2 story portions, like I said. The 1-story sections are closest to Washington Street, and the 2-story section is back toward the parking lot. And the roofing, roof pitch will be 8 and 12, so it's somewhat steep and dramatic. The building will be set back 15 feet from front property line, and that's the same as the adjacent Priest Ranch setback. Side setbacks will be closer to property line, except for the south side. It'll be separated essentially the distance of the 31-foot setback, although the building is slightly askew to that line. On the north side, it will be set back a little over 1 foot at the northwest corner, increasing as you go toward the parking lot. The existing driveway that you see there is on the subject parcel, and it will provide access to a new 17-space parking lot in the rear. That driveway also provides access to the Priest Ranch parking lot. And then there's also a conceptual landscape plan that's been submitted with the application. It includes the bay laurels in the front setback, as well as maples in the courtyard, oak trees in the parking lot, and other Mediterranean perennials and other plants. So I've indicated how that this project really is very consistent with residential scaled commercial zoning district standards for buildings. There's really just 2 elements I want to raise for your information and discussion tonight. One relates to building size, and regulations specific for residential scaled commercial zoning district provide that multiple small buildings rather than one large building shall be used. It talks about square footage, and that buildings 3,200 square feet or smaller are really what was envisioned and what's been developed on other parcels. What's unique here is that the applicant has proposed a building form and structure that is intended to mimic smaller buildings, and with the use of the different roof lines, in staff's opinion, is very effective in this manner. There is the use of the breezeway that additionally provides a way to break the two buildings up, and these paired building elements are one way to reduce the massing of the street. It is true that the two-story section at the rear of the structure does connect what would otherwise be one-story elements, but it's at the rearmost portion of the building, and what it does is create this stepped-up elevation from Washington Street to really try to minimize or mitigate some of that massing. And furthermore, I've indicated in the staff report that the individual building sections are really very consistent with the standard. The one-story section on the north side is under 1,500 square feet. The building on the south side is just under 3,000 square feet, and the second story is 1,618 square feet. So it's staff's opinion that this is consistent with the special design guidelines for the RSC district, but this is a new interpretation of the code, and so this is a question for your consideration and feedback tonight. After coming to you, obviously it's going to go to council for final approval. Another element I wanted to discuss were the setbacks, and a 20-foot setback is required in the code for commercial structures. That is a standard that has been variously applied recently, and the council has preferred to see shorter setbacks and buildings closer to the street to bring pedestrian activity closer, and I gave examples in the staff report of those that have been granted exceptions for reduced setbacks. It was Priest Ranch right next door, Heston and Stewart and RH, and so this applicant is seeking the same, and it's supported by staff. When we look at the side setbacks, on the south side, it's very consistent with the treatment of how Priest Ranch relates to the driveway, so it's very similar there. Where this may be considered to have a very low setback is on that northwest corner, where it's just 1 foot 3 inches from the driveway to Ranch Market. And it may be said to create an odd transition, especially for the interim before Ranch Market develops. But what's nice is that it creates more of an urban form for when that property redevelops, and where we would like to see a building brought closer to the street, and the parking in the front that is so dominant moved to the rear. So we see an interface of two parcels that are very different on that north side, but it is supported by staff, and I just wanted to raise it for your information. The last items I want to discuss are items that we've proposed conditions of approval for, but that we don't really otherwise have any issue with. One relates to the parking lot, and it is an 8-foot wall that surrounds that parking lot. It's an interesting rammed earth block wall, and it will be the same height as the Priest Ranch wall that adjoins it. We've been in contact with the neighbor behind the project who shares a section of that wall that is located on both Priest Ranch and the subject property, and so staff's interest is ensuring that the treatment on the backside is a single treatment for that neighbor, so he doesn't have the different broken commercial treatments in his backyard, and we've included a condition. There's also the refuse and recycling area back in that southeast corner, and it would be at that 8-foot height of the wall, and the applicant or the adjoining property owner has expressed some concern with it, that he would like it moved. I want to indicate that we think it's an appropriate location there because of its proximity to the driveway. Commercial properties use totes rather than dumpsters, so they all have to go out to the street or pick up in the driveway, and that any concerns that the neighbor has over noise or odor really can be mitigated with construction techniques. That already the rammed earth walls are going to mitigate a lot of the noise impacts. If it's roofed, it can further achieve that. One of the last projects, Stewart, we required a self-closing door so that when they go and dump wine bottles, that it's not the sound is attenuated. And so we're just proposing a condition there. We otherwise think it's a good location. we're very much in support of this project, and we're excited to see it developed, and we think it's a very appropriate design, a very Napa-style design. And I would just turn it over to the applicant now to give their presentation and answer any questions if you have them.
Did anybody have questions of staff first?
I have a question about what did we do for the garbage, the dumpster situation with Stewart's property? There was some discussion. What was the end result of that?
It was moved from the southeast corner of the parking lot to the other side at back of building.
Okay, so they incorporate that into the building instead of against the fence.
Not part of the building, but adjacent to it. A large landscape area was removed to tuck it in that location.
So they're not against the fence?
Correct.
The Stewart's, yeah. Okay.
So I think you had a question about driveway?
I had a question
Of
about the
the staff?
driveway.
Yes.
Just looking at this site, it looks like where that driveway is now in existence, that's on their property line then?
Entirely on their property.
Got it. So then with the new proposed site then, they'd just be sharing that existing driveway?
Yes, it's a shared driveway that's on the subject parcel that's before you tonight, but that already provides ingress egress to Priest Ranch.
Got it.
And the bus stop will be remaining?
It will be remaining.
Okay.
If you'd like to move it, that's
It's just unfortunate that it's right there, but we need a bus stop. Okay, then we will hear from the applicant.
Hello, Michael Guthrie, architect for the applicant. We're a design firm in San Francisco as well as Napa. I'm a Napa Valley resident also. I think the primary concern for us as we were going into the design of this last vacant lot was really understanding how important it is to the town and how important it was to be sensitive to the requirements of the residential scaled commercial zoning. And that really was the driving factor in developing what you see as kind of a group of buildings that we imagine as sort of a village. You know, in our minds, it's sort of artisan workshops that are sort of accumulated around an exterior courtyard. And that allowed us to create structures that had very small scale to them and resembled somewhat of residential buildings or even simple Napa Valley agricultural buildings. We also enjoy the possibility of building a second floor apartment, and we're very excited about that because it helps to break up the massing. We've pulled the two-story portion that includes that away from the adjacent residential, put the parking in the very back, and thereby sort of help the residential neighborhood to feel a little less as though someone is looming down over the top of them. It's not a tall structure. It's it's a modest. I believe we're about 2 feet under the ridge height that's allowed within code. We're also very fond of the fact that the building is designed to open up to the community. So we're using what's commonly known as nanowall doors that are completely open at 8 or 9 foot wide space. They're 8 foot tall. Some of them have transom windows above. And we think that also contributes to the feeling that the development is very residential in scale and use. The materials we brought, we have samples of everything here. If you'd like to see our proposed materials, they're somewhat close to where we will be, but I'm sure we'll fine tune that as we get into the next stages of design.
I'll be your Carol Merrill.
Great, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a basic stained cedar siding. We typically select the more, it's actually a B grade of material, it's not an A grade, because we like the knots, we like the character, we like it having, a more organic feel to it. And I think the adjacent materials are natural materials. We have, a bronze-colored metal roofing that sort of coincides with that. We have dark metal for our door and window package. You see, everything is sort of compatible and working within a very organic color range. A natural stone.
And that's the surfaces?
No, this is to use on, we're building a fireplace, an outdoor
Oh, okay.
fireplace, and we have a small section of wall that faces Washington Street that also has some stone on it.
Okay.
One of the things that you do in California because of our seismic codes, all stone is a veneer. We want to make sure that you understand it's not a imitation stone. It's a real stone, but we build with it as a veneer in California to meet seismic codes. And then one of the other components that we're pretty proud of is what we call a rammed earth CMU. CMU stands for concrete masonry units. And you can go down to Home Depot and see concrete masonry units in gray concrete. They're unattractive.
Cinder block.
And inexpensive.
Yeah.
But they do provide very good sound insulation. So we have a local fabricator out at SIAR, David Easton, who is the national expert on rammed earth. And David has been doing rammed earth homes for about 35 years. And he recently created a rammed earth CMU unit. And so it's a very affordable product and yet has that natural organic color to it. It doesn't typically get painted just because it's very attractive as a natural product. It has earth materials in it that give it a great coloration. Now, we understand that one of the neighbors has asked that the back side of the CMU that we're proposing be covered in plaster, and I don't think we have any objection to that, right? It's entirely subjective to their preference, so we can easily accommodate that. It's possible they may like the color of the CMU when they see it go up. So what we're doing with the CMU in our parking area is we're going to plant a climbing fig on it. So even though it's quite attractive, eventually it'll mostly be covered with plant material. So that's sort of the look that we prefer, but it won't entirely be covered, so you'll see splotches of the natural material through that. We've got a ways to go. We've got a landscape architect that's going to be developing a complete landscaping plan. Our civil engineer is very tuned in to stormwater drainage and issues related to county regulations with that. So it's a fairly complex formula to work out all of those considerations. So we'll have some permeable and maybe a few non-permeable surfaces within the project. The trees that are shown in the renderings are pretty representative where we want to go with the landscaping and the trees. And I think that's about it. If I can answer questions or give you any more information.
Okay. Carrie, you have any questions of the applicant?
Not yet, thank you.
No, but thank you for bringing it.
Okay.
Not yet, thank you.
Okay. Karen? Barbara?
Not really. I have to comment on your coloring and the concept. It's very attractive.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be a wonderful addition to have in town and finally fill that vacant space. And I think you've done a beautiful job with laying it out.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you would want to cover the whole front of the building with trees so that it can't be seen when
Well, I
you've
don't
created
think
this
that'll-
beautiful front with the doors and the nano.
I don't think that'll entirely cover it. I think the species that our landscape architect has in mind will allow visibility through them, and it really becomes more of a way to provide shade. And in the summertime,
Yeah, that's true.
You're
Coming through that
facing
side.
it just gets so hot.
Yeah.
We've got a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
glass facing west, and
Right.
so I think it's really for comfort more than anything.
And the sunlight will hit the pavement or
Yeah.
go back
yeah,
up to your
yeah.
building.
So the trees would help
Yeah.
mitigate some of the heat gain. But yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's an attractive building.
I know.
To cover it up with trees is not, it's not a terrible thing. I mean,
No,
certainly
no,
the
but-
buildings are more about enjoying them from the inside than just simply driving by.
And the courtyard you've made.
Yeah, in the
invite people
courtyard.
in.
I think the sweet spot is really the courtyard, and I think that's where a lot of people will want to hang out.
In looking at the aerial view that was included in the package, the way that back property line goes across and then cuts out where that person's yard comes in and then goes back across, and that being right where you've located the trash receptacles, I can understand that resident's concern. It doesn't just back up to his yard, it comes all the way up to the back of his house. Have you given any thought to maybe repositioning the trash enclosure to away from their house?
You mean just not make it as deep from front to back?
Or put it on a, because it's not a dumpster, right? Is that what you said? It's trash bins? So
Yeah.
on
Well,
the other, on your building side of it, with the same enclosure or something, and so that it's not in their yard for the noise and.
Nancy has discussed it with us. I don't think we have any strong objection to putting it elsewhere. It seems that relocating it elsewhere is going to be objectionable to someone else. We actually have a relationship with Priest Ranch next door, and so there's no conflict there. However, moving it toward Ranch Market potentially creates another.
Well, I think you'd have less
conflict.
objection if you moved it towards your building.
Oh,
You
well,
know, on
then,
that side.
if we were to do that, we wouldn't meet any of our fire department access or automobile access, or, so there's
Even
just,
if you put it in the diagonal corner, all the way back there?
all the way back
Oh,
toward
they've got like
Ranch
tandem
Market?
parking and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, certainly, we don't have any big problem with relocating it there. We could do that. It does create a much longer distance to bring trash cans. You have, noise that's generated during that process, potentially leakage out of the cans, and
Yeah, I can just understand the residents' concern. Every night there's going to be wine bottles being dumped in their backyard, practically, just because of that cutout. That's their backyard.
I'm not quite understanding.
On the aerial view, you have the aerial view.
This one?
See how that house, right at the end of the driveway, how that you're like in their backyard
Because of the courtyard. Uh-huh.
because of that's their backyard right there.
Uh-huh.
Is that dirt colored space. So you're not just backing up to the fence, but all the way up against their house.
Yeah. I don't see a big problem.
for that?
It will have a roof on it. It's an 8-foot tall wall
With a roof, yeah.
with a roof,
And how thick are the rammed earth walls?
8 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty massive.
So that's pretty
It's
well
pretty massive.
mitigated as best you can.
It's funny how sound moves up and then over. It's possible that if we relocated it toward Ranch Market, they might actually have more noise
I
in
know
their
the sound
backyard.
wall thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
How
Sort
do
of-
you vent the area if you, with the roof? How do you vent? Use your
We'll
ventilation?
definitely have to vent.
Right.
Yeah, it's a concern that we have. Originally, we thought it would be open at the top, and Sandy and Nathan asked us to enclose it to meet neighbor concerns, and that's fine.
Okay.
We can do that. But we do have concerns about it drying out, right?
Right.
You don't
Right.
want those spaces to remain damp. And
Right, right.
so we'll have some sort of an airspace above that. Hopefully, we can slightly exceed the 8 feet and put a roof line up there and not, that's a potential issue. It would be taller than 8 feet if we left the wall at 8 feet and put a roof on top of it.
Right.
Otherwise, we lower the wall and meet the 8-foot limitations with the roof. So I think if you could advise us on what would be preferable, we'll accommodate.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you come up with?
What is the size of the courtyard approximate?
Gosh, I don't know that we've ever calced it. I'm gonna say it's a little over 1,100 square feet. It might be as much as 1,200. Yeah.
Because I did when you measure with your pencil, and I got about 30 by 40, so
Well,
we're in the
if you-
same
if you-
ballpark.
If you look at the adjacent retail space that's to the north of the courtyard, that's about 1,000 square feet. So if you compare the courtyard to that, you can see that it's larger.
Is it this center court that's 1,710 square feet?
Oh.
All right.
Right.
It's right there.
Well,
On,
that
page
includes the
A102.
breezeways.
That includes the breezeways,
Yeah.
though, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Darn it.
And then,
1,510 square feet. Includes the breezeways, though. Right.
Includes the breezeways, yeah.
and then on the covered terrace on the apartment portion, is that for use only by the resident of the apartment, the covered terrace?
Yes, yeah.
I do have to ask, you are going to add a door into the women's bathroom, right?
Did we not have a door in the women's bathroom?
But I assume you'll add that.
pretty funny.
Wow.
Yeah. Men's has a door, but the women's does not.
Just be a sign that says women.
Oh, my goodness, wow. That is a mistake, yeah,
You find your own way in.
yeah.
No way out.
You did the plumbing. You figure it out.
Oh,
Well, thank you very much for pointing
sure.
that out.
I'm sure it would have come up at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, if nobody else has any questions, we will thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think we have any public that is here to speak on this, so we won't have any public comment. You guys have any comments or concerns about approving?
I have I don't know if it's a comment or a concern, but along the northern side where it comes up against Ranch Market, I think if another business developed on the Ranch Market parcel ever, that would be really, really close. And I wonder if there's anything to be done about that. And the same thing on the north side. As I look at the elevations, there are no windows. And again, if another business were to come in there and there's just a cedar wall, even though it's planted with the espaliered trees, how that would really look and flow together. So
I think one
that's
of
my
the-
only concern.
I think one of the things was that we are looking to approve a much shorter, 15-foot setback from the sidewalk. And right now Ranch Market has all their parking to the front. And the current standard is now to put all the parking to the back. So if Ranch Market was taken down and rebuilt, we would ask them to move up to the front, right? So it would just be two sides of buildings up against each other. They would move it all the way to a 15-foot setback from the sidewalk.
Member Durham does raise a good point, though, that there's it's just set back 1 foot 3 inches, I think, from that north property line. And speculating, let's say Ranch Market were to build to property line, then there's, how do you get in that space to maintain it? It has no windows because it's within the zone where the zoning ordinance doesn't allow openings. So, because it is so close to property line. So, not knowing how or when or if even Ranch Market will redevelop, that does create a point that forces them into doing something differently.
Somehow San Francisco figured that out.
Those are all zero lot lines, and they
Yeah.
come right up to one another. So, and to the other side at Priest Ranch, where the south building is right at Piazza Quercia, that 0-0 works well. That we have that 0-0 lot line between Hill Family and Bistro Gentil. But when you start having a small setback but not much, it can be difficult. I'll just leave it at that.
What kind of problems would it cause?
Well, it limits what they can do on Ranch Market and how they could access their building if they were to reduce their setback significantly. It's hard to really identify all the issues at this point because it's unknown.
But I mean, you can build to zero lot line. It just, this one happens to be at an angle. The lot is at an angle. I guess I'm not understanding what problem it causes.
Well, I guess zero lot lines work best where you're right up against another zero lot line. And to have a reduced setback can create a pinch point. I don't know how to say it more than that, really.
It would be hard to service between those two properties, and you create kind of narrow alleyway that you can't really do anything with it, I guess.
Okay.
Could I comment on that?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, come on. You come
on up.
come back up to the microphone.
So zero lot lines are very common in cities, right? They typically become inaccessible spaces. The only reason we have allowed a certain amount of space there is that in the interim, before Ranch Market does something to develop that property, it's a rather harsh elevation, and we wanted to have enough room to plant espaliered trees. And we have a drainage issue. We've got downspouts that would connect to underground drainage sources. So in the future, if Ranch Market wants to build all the way to the property line, that would just essentially be a closed-off space that no one needed to get to. And the landscaping no longer makes any sense whatsoever. It would die, right? So we would have it removed. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing is, there's something about the lighting in the parking lot or the driveway. Is it that none is planned, or that there's going to be a lighting plan turned into staff?
We'll
How did that
receive a
end
lighting
up?
plan at some point. One wasn't presented. We only see the lighting on the front of building facing Washington. So I wanted to raise it as an issue that height is a concern because of the adjoining residential neighborhood. And we conditioned Priest Ranch to have it wall height and lower so that it doesn't spill over. The commercial lighting doesn't spill over into the residential neighborhood.
Because they do propose to be open until 10 p.m., so there would need to be some
Oh,
lighting.
yes. We still want lighting out there.
Okay.
Did the applicant have any objections to any of the conditions of approval?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay, any other comments, concerns? No? Okay. Somebody want to make a motion? You don't want to do it?
I don't want to do it. I'm out tonight.
Barbara, you want to try? It's an easy one.
Well, I guess I can make a motion to approve the project as proposed with the condition that's put on it. And really, we don't need to make any changes to speak of. If there are minor changes, they can work with the staff.
Does that work for you?
Would that work?
Okay.
Yeah.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion's approved. Thank you for bringing a beautiful project.
Congratulations. It's
Yes,
a beautiful project.
It's very exciting.
So the next step is also this will be coming to the town council, as
Right.
they also approve the master development plan
So-
and the use. as
Right.
well.
Will we see them next Tuesday at town council?
I don't know if it's next Tuesday. It's probably going to be
It's February 2nd.
February 2nd.
Sure, thank you. It's exciting. When do you think you'll begin?
Right.
Well, thank you, gentlemen.
When are you
Just
building?
wondering when it was starting, but you need town council.
We thought we'd get the city council approval first.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And, but we're hoping that it'll start April, May.
Wow.
As soon as we can start scratching.
Get in there.
We hope we'll be in a position to do so.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
You're going to tell us when we can do that, though. Yeah. Well, and there's some other things with the financing, so on and so forth. You can't even grade without
Yes,
final.
Right.
all right.
Anyhow, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's been a pleasure working with the staff and going through the project.
Good,
Thank you.
like to hear that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
We have any items for presentation or discussion?
Just wanted to give a quick update on the general plan update. You all know that we are going to be making revisions to our general plan in the coming months. To really start this all off, we're going to be doing a town-wide resident survey. So be looking in the mail for a little bit. We presented this to the council at the last meeting. Now we're sharing it with you. A survey is going to be sent out to all residents to just get a basic idea of residents' opinions on everything going on in the town. That really gives us a launch pad, so to say, to get us started on the general plan update. So look forward in the mail for your survey.
Will it kind of let them know what the general plan covers? Because I think a lot of people don't really understand. I know you guys, it's...
The questions don't flat out say, what's your opinion of the circulation element? There are things like, on a scale of 1 to 5, is Yountville a safe place to live?
Okay.
The question's more on that range that's everyday speak, that we're really interested to hear what everyone thinks.
Okay.
Sort of an early check-in point with the community to see how they feel about things. We'll obviously build up to the general plan and get more specific as we take steps on specific elements and talk about specific substantive issues. So,
Okay.
Most multiple choice questions.
They're all multiple choice. That's how we are able to then analyze the data. Well, it's also going to be, all the responses are going to be coded based on residences as well. So we will be able to see if certain neighborhoods feel a certain way.
That's
If there's,
interesting.
it may not be statistically significant, but it's always
Right.
worth seeing.
What concerns are? Yeah, that makes sense.
What's also nice is these survey results are compared. It's being done by the national, it's a national citizen survey group that thousands of communities across the country have taken. So we'll be able to have a number of benchmarks to see how Yountville compares with everyone else in the country. We'll also have a very special benchmark group of other destination cities.
Oh.
And so
Well, that's a
seeing
good
how we do
comparison, too.
with places like Seaside or even Park City, Utah, or Aspen, Colorado, all these different destination cities.
good.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right.
Okay. We are planning a meeting with town council to talk about the sign ordinance?
we're
Eventually.
planning a joint meeting. We haven't really established all of the subject matter for that meeting. Signs will probably be something that we discuss. We are taking the proposed ordinance to them, the cleanup ordinance, next Tuesday.
Okay.
So that is going forward, but then one big project in front of us is drafting a whole new ordinance. So
Ripping off the Band-Aid and getting a new one.
But we won't be meeting with them before the
not
proposed
not
ordinance
before the
revisions
Band-Aid is
go.
in
Okay.
place.
Okay. Okay, staff or board reports?
That was the only one.
Well, I wanted to share, I did email you all the Planning Commissioners Academy that is coming up in San Ramon, Dublin area, and wanted to encourage any or all of you to attend. They're great for both new commissioners as well as seasoned ones because there are so many different sessions, and they offer multiple ones at a single time, and so you can pick and choose what items are of greatest interest to you. We do have money in the planning department budget to cover the registration fees, and so we're happy to host that. Since it is so close, I was thinking maybe we could carpool each day here from Yountville, but that's open too. So anyway, I hadn't heard back from all of you, and I didn't know how you felt about it or whether you wanted to attend, and wanted to just give you an opportunity now to talk about it if you so wish.
When do we need to let you know?
I think it is actually February 2nd is the the deadline to register.
Okay. I don't think the link opened the different
didn't?
classes for me. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but that might be, I could just try it on a different computer or something.
Okay.
It's a 3 days thing, right? How many days?
I think it's two solid days, and then there's a pre-conference day that you can also sign up for. You can sign up for any particular day, for the whole conference. It all depends on schedules.
Right. I like to study the agenda, see
Okay.
what makes which part makes sense to me.
Good.
Could I get back to you on that?
Of
Yeah.
course, yes. I just wanted to let you know that the league holds this conference every year. It alternates between Southern California and Northern California, and we're lucky to have it here in our backyard this year. So,
Right.
so it is something worth going to if you have the time. And
Is this the one that you
I'm
went
definitely
to
going.
last year?
Yeah, I like
You
to
went
pick a
something
session to go.
St. Helena one.
Oh, okay.
I didn't do the city one. Jeff did that.
Jeff did it. I remember saying
Mhm.
he really enjoyed it and it had a
He
lot of good
did.
information.
He really enjoyed that.
That was the same. That's the same parallel as this one.
Uh-huh.
He said it
Yeah,
was
that
good.
one was in San Francisco 2 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, it was
Okay.
2 years.
I'll make sure I look at it.
Okay, good.
Sounds interesting. I would
And then
like to
email
find
me if
some
you have
of
any
it.
questions, and we'll.
Well, I have a question on the carpool.
Okay.
Do we get to ride in the town van? Is that what you mean? I have heard rumor of a town van.
We do have. We have the van.
Okay, then I will move for us to adjourn. A second?
Second.
All righty. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you.